Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, I know I haven't done a gold and silver video in quite some time. There's like a million things going on with me personally, and I'm trying to tackle them all at once. So my apologies, but everything that's being said about gold and silver has been said by me at least a million times over the last 4 years. So we will cover that. Also, is it very possible I could be changing my stance on cryptocurrencies? Stay tuned and figure out why. So let's get into this. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Miles Franklin. The link will be down below in the description. When you make your purchase, make sure you use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they'll take care of you. If you have any additional questions, you can reach us over here at this phone number or over here at this particular email. For all orders over $10,000, reach out by email and we'll make sure that you get a great deal. So come on over to Miles Franklin and add to your precious metal inventory. Alrighty, let's take a look at cryptocurrency, shall we? A lot of them in the green, that's a good sign. Bitcoin at $63,096.57. Ethereum's at $2,950.40. Solana is up to $148.15. Wow. XRP, well, no, it isn't changing much. It was up near 60 cents and it went right back down to 50 cents. Look, the talk is that XRP is going to be a stable coin. This was the purpose of its original use. If that's the case, you won't see XRP get above $1. This USD coin, that's a stable coin. Tether, that's a stable coin. They always stay right around $1. So if XRP is going to be a stable coin, they won't get any higher than these two right here. Dogecoin's up to 15 cents. Shiba's at 4024. Polkadot's at $6.69. And Litecoin's at $81.07. Terra Luna Classics at 30105. SATA Chain is at 20117. At least that zero they deleted is still gone. So that's a good sign, even though prices are dropping. But I keep my eye on it. Very interesting. SATA Chain is at 0.00117. Gold is currently at $2,343.70. Boy, howdy, that is cheap. And what is still the deal? Silver, known as the poor man's gold, is at $28.49 an ounce. Keep on stacking. I'm telling you, keep on stacking, because over these next couple of years, it's going to get to a level in which you guys cannot afford to buy these any longer. So now is your time. So I was listening to Trump give a speech about cryptocurrencies. He was against it at first. I don't trust the crypto market. It just depends on who's in charge of our government. I heard Trump say what he said about cryptocurrencies. So there is some hope I might support Bitcoin. Let's listen in on what Trump has to say.
They are against it. The Biden doesn't even know what it is. If you ask Biden, sir, are you for or against crypto? What's that? What the? Get me off the stage. You say, get me off the stage. No, he has no idea.
Donald Trump just destroyed all Bitcoin skeptics.
The Gensler is very much against it. The Democrats are very much against it.
Coming out in full support for crypto.
And I say this, a lot of people are very much for it. Probably a lot of the people in this group.
This is significant because it was just 3 years ago that Donald Trump slammed Bitcoin, calling it a scam.
Bitcoin, it just seems like a scam. I was surprised. You know, with us, it was at 6,000 and much lower. I don't like it because it's another currency competing against the dollar. Essentially, it's a currency competing against the dollar. I want the dollar to be the currency of the world. That's what I've always said.
And now Trump is supporting it?
And I'm fine with it. I want to make sure it's good and solid and everything else, but I'm good with it.
Bragging about his NFT collection.
You know, we did it when NFTs were not hot. Yeah. And we made NFTs hot again, right? Make them yes,
sir. Taking crypto for campaign donations.
If you can't, I'll make sure you can. Can we donate to the Trump campaign using crypto? I believe the answer is yes.
Look, it's great that Trump is a cheerleader for crypto. It's much more important that fair crypto policy gets pushed through in the US, especially with Biden doing things like this, signaling that he would veto any fair crypto legislation bill. So my question is, do you think Trump fully understands what's at risk here?
Yeah, with the goggles on.
A lot of the smartest people in crypto are moving their businesses out of the U.S. because they're scared of the U.S.'s regulations.
Because of the hostility.
Correct.
Yeah, crypto is moving out of the U.S. because of hostility toward crypto.
Correct. So what are you going to do to stop it?
Well, we'll stop it because I don't want that. I don't want that. I want that. If we're going to embrace it, we have to let them be here.
Yes, sir.
So a couple of things. The people that used to think Bitcoin was a scam, all of a sudden supporting Bitcoin, always is at least a yellow flag for me. So in order for me to get behind cryptocurrencies, there has to be some protection there. There has to be some laws preventing our government, at least, from doing some shenanigans in which they either find a way, one way or another, to stop cryptocurrencies altogether, or there has to be some laws there that prevent the government from trying to figure out a way to take over cryptocurrencies, like we see happening with all these EFTs out there, or ETFs out there buying up Bitcoin. So they buy up all the physical Bitcoin, and then people are only left with buying ETFs. That's not what we want. At any time, they could pull all of the liquidity out of the market and destroy the crypto market. That's always been a concern of mine. And until we put in some kind of protections for the people from the black hats or cabal or whatever the hell you want to call them, until we find a way to guarantee that these people cannot interfere with what cryptos are meant to be, then it's hard to get behind them. But the one thing about this video that I noticed, he's not all in with cryptocurrencies. What he said was, I'm going to look into it before I respond. But it is encouraging to hear Trump talk about it. If I was Trump, I'd pull in all these crypto developers and say, how could we protect ourselves from ourselves? What do crypto companies need to do to prevent any government from grabbing control of the crypto market? I think to keep these hedge funds and bankers from controlling it and destroying it, there should be a limitation on the amount of cryptocurrencies that each person or entity could buy. That's just my opinion. You guys let me know what you think. All right, let's get back into gold and silver. Let's listen to Andy Shipman. Let's hear what he has to say about what's going on with the BRICS nations, gold and silver, and the United States.
CEO of Miles Franklin, Andy Schectman, points out the irony of the U.S. threatening sanctions on Chinese entities for aiding Russia while engaging in similar actions. The United States' ability to weaponize the dollar, using it to impose the dollar, using it to impose sanctions and maintain its geopolitical stance, has raised concerns among BRICS countries, particularly China and Russia. Andy argues that these geopolitical tensions are boosting gold prices, which have outperformed Treasury bonds and the S&P 500 without the risks of default or sanctions. Gold is up 12% in 2024, outpacing the S&P 500's 10% gain. For 2024, gold is on pace to surge past the S&P 500 by the widest margin in a calendar year since 2022. That would represent a wider margin of outperformance than in 2022, the last year gold outpaced stocks. While stating his perspective, Andy Schectman stresses that gold and silver may not have a clear peak in sight because nobody wants to be left holding devalued currency. The United States, under President Franklin D. Roosevelt, devalued the dollar in 1933 by 75% against the price of gold, leading to a significant rise in gold prices. This era vividly illustrates how currency devaluation can enhance the appeal of gold as a store of value. Referring to a recent event involving a notable sale of gold futures that briefly impacted prices, Schectman hints at the possibility of intentional market manipulation. Nevertheless, he maintained his belief in central banks strategically favoring gold as a safer asset over treasuries. Central bank purchases and other related issues have driven the rise in gold prices since 2022. With the growing demand for gold, the pressure faced by U.S. Treasury securities will likely continue. Now, we present the clips of Andy Schectman's insights from his recent interview with Stacking Surfer. Before we continue to delve into this discussion, please subscribe to our channel and activate the bell icon for timely updates.
I see happening, and I would say, look, there really isn't a real top for assets like gold in dollar terms, because, just like who wants to be the last one holding worthless paper, I think is the way that the central banks are looking at it. Of course, Voltaire's statement, all currencies revert to their true value of zero, I think in this case is very true. And look, the bottom line is that, the central banks, they don't care about any of these correlations. They're just trying to, I think, de-dollarize and accumulate metals. And they're the ones, in my opinion, that are pushing this up. And I don't think you've really begun to see anything yet, because there's an old statement that says there's no bull market like a gold bull market, because it speaks to a different mentality. It doesn't speak to wanting to make profit. It speaks to protecting your ass. And this is why you see at 3 p.m. last Thursday a $1.6 billion sale of gold futures in about 3 minutes, which temporarily knocked down the price. But, you do something like that, you're either a complete and total moron or you're doing a drive-by shooting. Because when you sell that large of a position, the idea is to bleed it out over time, not dump it onto a very thinly traded market at the end of the day, when really it's in a transition between, New York and Asia, and it's just complete stupidity. But anyways, bottom line is, yeah, it does seem like this is different. It seems like the central banks, in my mind, are choosing gold over treasuries, which have the risk of not only default, but in the case of our brain dead Treasury Secretary, who in Brazil said, a member of BRICS, we need to confiscate, not just sanction, the Russian Forex reserves. And now she's at it again. And in an interview with CNBC from the, it's too stupid to be stupid category, she says the United States is prepared to sanction Chinese banks and companies, as well as Beijing's leadership, if they aid Russian military in its invasion of Ukraine. Well, it's okay for us to aid the Ukraine, but it's not okay for China, their ally, to aid. So now we're making demands. And, she goes as far as to say, that we stand ready to act if we see significant violations, and it's anything that involves Russia's military aid is unacceptable. And, the whole thing is nuts. She says China is entitled to have a relationship with Russia, but, anything of military aid, well, we're going to sanction you. Now, this is the whole driving force behind, I think, the strength in commodities, strength in gold, is that these countries look at gold, which has outperformed for 25 years a treasury bond by a huge margin. It's outperformed the S&P, and it's done so without counterparty risk, without sanction risk, without default risk. And I think this is what is putting a floor under the price of gold, which I expect to continue to rise.
Andy Schectman also voices concerns about excessive fiat currency printing, which he believes drives inflation. He proposed pegging a portion of new currency to gold to ensure stability and curb unchecked money printing. Currently, no currencies are pegged to gold or any other commodity.
Which gets back to what I spoke about before. Why it is I want the gold standard. To limit the powers of our government, to limit it from growing bigger than it already is. And I know you guys hear this news, all you Nasera people going, wait a minute, the QFS, all of their money is backed by precious metals. No, it's not. You guys got to get past that. I showed you guys the true QFS system. It's nothing like the hokey pokey people are telling you out there. But back to where I'm at, gold and silver is there to protect you. That's why I keep telling people, you better get your money out of the bank. You better start buying gold and silver to protect you and your family. Let's listen to Gregory. Listen to what he has to say about banks.
Okay, everybody, here we go. It's me, Gregory Manarino. Monday, May 13th, 2024. Pre-market report. A lot of stuff to cover today. Let's start off with this, people. You and I, before anybody else, and you know this is true if you've been with me, started to at least try to wake up the masses with regard to the issues with the smaller and the regional institutions. Well, I'm here to let you in on a little secret. The problems for the smaller banks and the regional banks is getting monumentally worse, and no one's talking about it. It's not getting any coverage whatsoever on the mainstream media outlets, and that should tell you something. They're hiding this. They can't let people understand what's going on here. And I'm going to tell you right now, and you know what I'm going to say is true. The banking system today, just real quick, across the board, and this includes the major institutions, are in more trouble right now than they've ever been in history. It's all started.
Slow down there, Sparky. I've been warning my listeners now for years about what's going on with the banking system, but I'm aboard with what you're saying. I just want to throw that out there.
Years ago, actually, and you and I started saying, hey, you know what? No deposits, no loans, no deals. There's a problem here. Well, this situation has gotten a lot worse. Not just that. What are we hearing about? And we are hearing about this even from the mainstream media. Loan defaults across the board are worsening. Credit card defaults are worsening. And although the smaller institutions are more susceptible to this, this is also an issue with the bigger banks. Okay, so what do we need to know about what's happening now? Let me cut right to the chase. And I'm going to say it again. Get your cash out of the smaller and regional banks. Do it today if you haven't done it, because I can promise you, we are going to see a domino effect of these institutions, especially moving into 2025. And I've been sounding the warning here, at least trying to, because everything I look at, every piece of information that I can gather, and I look at this stuff all the time, tells me that moving into 2025 is going to be a big deal. Okay, so with that said, we need to get ready right now.
Look, Gregory is reminding people that your money is not safe in a bank. I've been screaming that from the top of my lungs for years. For those of you who've been listening to me, I do not keep money in my bank account. I put all my money into gold and silver. The only money that stays in my account are my monthly bills. Every month I deposit in the money I think I need to cover my bills, but nothing more. The rest is in precious metals. You should do the same thing as well. Because right now you might be going, no, Pimpy, I got $200,000-$300,000 in my bank account. I'm not doing that. Some of you have even more. And then one day you're going to wake up and it's gone. And you're going to be like, what the hell? And as you're sitting there, pissed off, stressed, worried, upset, your family's looking at you like, what are we going to eat next, Papa? You're going to be like, gosh damn it, I wish I would have listened to Pimpy. And not just me, there's a reason why I play these videos, because you can hear other experts out there warning you of the same thing I've been talking about. So if you haven't moved your money yet, right now is the time.
Understand what the mainstream media is allowing you to know. Loan defaults rising across the board, and they're also letting you know that people have burned through their savings. That means that these smaller institutions, they got problems here. Their balance sheets are loading up with bad debt. Now, the situation is very simple. The smaller and the regional institutions are going to be allowed to fail because the big institutions, they're too big to fail. So what's going to happen is to offset the losses on the big banks' balance sheets is they're going to buy assets from the smaller institutions for pennies on the dollar. This is nothing but a consolidation, people. The big commercial banks, the JP Morgans, for example, the Morgan Stanleys, these are going to be okay. Bank of America is another situation. Now, I've been talking about Bank of America for a very, very long time. If you look at the data with regard to Bank of America and their peers, they're in deep shape. Okay, so stay away from Bank of America. All right?
Understand that this isn't by accident. This is a planned demolition worldwide to get rid of the banks and force us into this WEF, World Economic Forum's banking system that they want us in, which is the central bank digital currency.
With the smaller banks, the regional banks, start to withdraw your cash out of there, okay? And again, look for somewhere else to keep it. If you must keep your cash in an institution, I'm going to say this again for the millionth time, and my words always get twisted. These institutions are not safe. I'm going to start that off. But they are safer. I'm talking about credit unions. Credit unions are safer than the big commercial banks, at least in my opinion, and not the big monsters like the JP Morgans and the Goldman Sachs. And those they're going to be safe because, again, they run the Fed.
But it's not just that. As I explained earlier, JP Morgan is being touted as the people who are going to control the central bank digital currency. The Fed won't exist anymore. JP Morgan will control it for everybody in the world. That's why you see them into places like Iraq, setting up the banking institutions, using the software, training Iraq on what they need to do. They're trying to make sure that everybody is plugged into the system so that when they flip that switch, people have no choice.
Other banks, not so much. Bank of America, I would avoid. Okay, that's just me telling you my take on this here. Now, a couple of other things I want to cover. So yesterday's video, I explained to you the situation with regard to the call that was made about $20,000 gold and how the Treasury is going to revalue gold to $20,000. This is a pipe dream, ain't happening. Okay. With regard to gold, $20,000. A lot of you took exception. Oh, Greg, it's going to $40,000. Lynette Zhang says so. Look, Lynette, I don't know what her I've never discussed this with Lynette. Lynette is very smart. I love Lynette. Everybody loves Lynette. Her opinion on 40,000, it's hers. She's entitled to that. Me, I just look at things, okay, in terms, how I look at everything is breaking it down to its most simplest form. No, I just look at, as you all know, the Dow gold ratio. Now, understanding the Dow gold ratio, we need to pick, or at least try to come up with the most likely bottom here. We know where the Fed jumped in at Dow 6,000. That's where the Fed chose quantitative easing 1 to try to reprop up the market after it fell 50%. You understand? Now, since that time, some of these corporations have gained value that make up the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So, you got to be, this is a wild kind of a speculative call here, admittedly so. But the bottom for the Dow in an extreme situation could be $6,000. It could be 8,000. But again, it looks like some of you didn't understand what I was saying. Look up the Dow gold ratio. It's a real thing. I didn't make it up. I'm not that smart, okay? Dow gold ratio is a real thing.
Currently, it is at 16.45.
I believe we're going to get a 1-to-1 par Dow gold, but we need to figure out where the bottom is of the Dow. Could be 6,000, could be 8,000. I mean, could it be lower? Could be. But I'm just saying, my take on it is a 1-to-1 ratio Dow gold, probably around 8,000, 6,000. That's my perspective, gauging where we are now in this market that doesn't make sense at all from any perspective. Okay, it's so overvalued, it's so twisted. Global debt is going to continue to balloon. We understand that, yes, it's going to take more devalued dollars to buy anything, even shares of stocks. So that's why this is kind of hard to really pinpoint this. But you don't have to be that accurate here. Well, we understand, you and me, okay? And again, I want to apologize to those of you that I confused. I thought my video was very on point, but some of you got confused.
I feel you, my brother. I know what you mean.
We know that the market is completely detached from reality, and that's a fact. I mean, it's very hard to argue that, understanding that the mechanism here of suppressed rates, currency devaluation, has caused the distortions that we see now. But I don't think it's that out of the realm of possibility to say the bottom for the Dow could be between 6,000 and 8,000. Maybe it's 10,000, but I still believe it's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio, wherever the bottom may be with regard to the Dow Jones Industrial Average in gold. With regard to silver, people, 10-to-1, 15-to-1. 10-to-1 in an extreme circumstance with regard to Dow, gold, silver. You understand? Very, very simple. At least I hope so.
Woo! Gold and silver ratio 10-to-1? That would be awesome. In other words, if for whatever reason gold settles at $10,000 an ounce, if they reset the ratio like he's saying, 10-to-1, that means gold would be at $10,000 and silver would be at $1,000. I would love to see that ratio. Gold and silver, you have to physically own it. Have it in your possession. It keeps you out of the system. It protects your wealth, protects you and your family. Anyways, that's it for now. Let me know what you guys think. I look forward to hearing from you. I'm out.